What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Michael Wilton of the almighty Queensrÿche. Thanks for being here, man. It's great to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. Thank you for some amazing new music. Another great Queensrÿche album for the Queensrÿche Adventure. We got Digital Noise Alliance out now. Was the intention of this to just kind of like pick up where you left off after the verdict, or was this kind of like signifying like a new beginning in a way for Queensrÿche?
We don't really plan anything. It's more just like a natural evolution of the band. I just think maybe the writing process was a little different than the verdict, but other than that, it's just, the chemistry of the band and writing some songs that, we all liked.
Well, you mentioned that you don't really plan anything. I find that pretty interesting because when you compare The Warning to now, like it really seems like every album does have its own unique thing that stands out. Is there any sort of like preconceived idea, or is the songwriting like a very strictly experimental process?
Well, obviously as it evolves, we start, getting the lyrics and talking about things, the album title, album cover, but it's just a good variety of songs that we wrote during this writing session, and so far so good. It's really connecting with people, and we're really happy for that.
Absolutely. When you look at every album that you make, because sometimes I do think Queensrÿche has mastered the art of creating an album that goes beyond the music. There's always concepts that people are interested in, and I feel like you create not just a music listening experience, but an experience in general. Does like a concept or an idea of what the album could be about maybe also help guide your hand with how you create the music in a way?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's the music first, sometimes it's the lyrics first. But, as far as, a thematic theme, every song is a little bit different. They tackle different subjects, but, I think that gives the listener a good variety. And, this one is, in our eyes, just a good reflection of what's happening today in society and the world, so it's like, that's kind of what we've always done. It's the same MO.
Is there a lot of observation, like looking outward into the world as part of your songwriting and as a source of inspiration in a way? Or is it always coming from like a very personal, emotional experience?
Well, if you're talking about the music, this album was done kind of like we did in the early 80s, where the whole band got in a room together and everybody showed their ideas and everybody learned their ideas, whether it was guitar riffs, lyrics, whatever, but done in a modern situation where we had our producer Zeus, and, we all agreed that this album was not going to be, regurgitated things. It's all going to be fresh, new, ideas and lots of improvisation, and that turned out to be a real efficient way to do this, springboarding out of the pandemic. And it turned up, the songs were just blowing so fast, it's like we were doing 5 songs a day, and it was like and believe me, these songs are from the ground up, from a guitar riff. Most of these songs were written, and we just built them as a band. We got everybody's opinion, everybody's thumbs up, everybody's ideas, and it was just really fun to do. And, it was just a really efficient way of getting the album done. And, we got to the point where we had 22 songs, and then our producer Zeus said, guys, we got to really concentrate now on 11 or 12 songs. And so and that's what we did. We started microscoping the songs, making sure there weren't too many songs that sounded exactly the same, or that kind of thing. Songs that we think that would fit in a good variety on an album. You know, that's because, you know, in my eyes, when I say we're going to record an album, I mean, in my mind, I visually see an album, an LP album. You know, I'm old school, right? So I'm of the mind that you play the beginning of the album to the end of the album. You know, it's like immerse yourself into the artist.
Definitely.
You know, try and connect with it, you know, and that's kind of just the way, you know, I know the new era is like, oh, let's just write singles and put the singles out as videos. And that works for a lot of people, you know, but for us, I think we're a little more old school, and that's the way we create records.
Definitely. Are you ever worried that the song you leave out of the album, though, will be like a B-side one day to be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
Well, you know, it's we were just in the East Coast, and our producer Zeus came out to a couple shows, and he started playing some of the songs that we didn't pick. You know, he had them on his iPhone, and we're going, wow. You know, and he was just like salivating. He goes, guys, we got some really good cuts here. So, you know, so it's all, we can all revisit. You know, it's not like one song or anything. I'm talking like a bunch of songs.
Yeah. Well, I've always said with every album that's made, there's always like 2 other albums right behind it that the world may or may not ever hear.
Exactly. You know? We don't know what the next album's going to be.
Fair enough. When it comes to writing together, and you mentioned like this sort of old school, you know, how this old school method of all writing together, which I think is awesome. Is it better if all of the members of the band are kind of like in the same frame of mind and in the same headspace when writing music together? Or could your different experiences and your different emotions and your different feelings maybe actually help enhance the songwriting for Queensrÿche?
Well, I think the uniqueness of everyone's ideas is what kind of makes it all happen. You know, if everybody's thinking the same way, then, you know, it's kind of streamlined, but, you know, it's always good to have outside opinions and you know, get a little experimental once in a while on a part and things like that. So, you know, don't try to put too many limitations when you're creating music. You know, you just kind of go with the flow. And with Queensrÿche, it's always been about the song. The song dictates what it wants. And that's kind of always been our general rule. And, you know, we don't try to overplay or do anything, you know, too flashy or anything. It's just about what the song needs.
Mm-hmm. And being that you have been such a prolific artist between Queensrÿche and Soulbender and Pamela Moore and Ari Moore and so many other great artists, like, is the mindset of creativity different depending on who you're playing with, or is there like a usual method behind the madness that kind of like applies to everything?
I think it's, you know, with the combination of what we have here, it's creative energy in the band. It's everybody's unique and derivative, and it just adds, you know, we can create the songs as a band, not just one person.
Definitely. Of course. When we hear the riffs in Queensrÿche, especially with this new album with songs such as Hold On to Realms to Nocturnal Light to Lost in Sorrow, it really just seems like every song has its own emotional element that makes, not even just for this album, but for every Queensrÿche in general. When we hear your riffs and your soloing, is that representative of an emotion that you were feeling at a particular time in a way?
Yeah, it was, you know, like I said, it was kind of improvised at that time and built at that time, you know, so whatever is streaming through my head, that's kind of, you know, it either sticks to the painting or it slides off. You know, so it's just, that's kind of the way it is, you know, but when you're hearing things in your head as far as melody and riffs, soloing, whatever, it's just important, you know, to get it documented. So, and, you know, at my age, it's like, it's really important to get it documented because I probably will forget it in the next 10 minutes. So it's really great that we have, you know, Zeus archiving ideas and you know, we can recall them and go, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, thanks. Yeah, and then we can just start building songs. It's just a fun thing to do as a band.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Queensryche is very experimental with not only just your sound, but what you guys write about, because there are elements that, you're exploring concepts outside of yourselves, but you're also exploring, internal elements as well. Like, obviously, you mentioned that this sort of changes, alters how you write the music and everything like that. If we were to maybe listen to an instrumental version of every Queensryche song, and I know this is a big what if question, but if we were to listen to an instrumental version of every Queensryche song, or even just like a vault of your riffs, would we be able to tell, okay, Michael Wilton was looking outward when writing this, or he was looking inward when writing this?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't analyze what I come up with. I just let it flow. I let it happen. And, like I said, the guys, it's thumbs up or thumbs down. So, but I have a lot of them, it's just a matter of listening to what's in your head and, trusting it.
Definitely. Now, next year, I think there's a lot to celebrate for Queensryche in 2023, because next year is going to mark 10 years since we first heard Todd Latour's contributions to Queensryche with their self-titled album, and what we would later hear on Condition Humic and The Verdict, and now with Digital Noise Alliance, is truly breathtaking. Kind of turning back the clock a little bit with that self-titled album for 2013, what are some memories, or what was the sort of thought process behind that songwriting?
It was more like just kind of a new beginning. It was, just checking and proving, that writing music as a band, everybody involved and not just one person saying it's this way or that, is the way that Queensrÿche operates. And we had to rediscover that. So I think that was a kind of a new beginning for the band.
Mm-hmm. And turning back the clock even further, because one album that I don't think gets talked about enough is Tribe, and next year that's also going to be 20 years. Was there any specific memories with the making of that? Because when I listen to Tribe and you open with the opening track Open and then ending it with doing fine, it really does seem to have a really good sort of flow behind that, as well, as you like to say. Was there a specific goal that you were trying to achieve with Tribe as well?
Well, I think, for most people that don't know about that album, because it kind of just slipped by, we brought Chris DeGarmo back, and a lot of those songs and ideas were, his ideas as well. So it's kind of, a diamond in the rough. And it's, I like the album. It's got a vibe. It's got its own kind of vibe. It's not the heavy metal crunch progressive thing, but it's still, a worthy Queensrÿche album that, people should check out.
Yeah, I've always thought, because that's such an, I always thought that going from Q2K to Tribe, there was such an evolutionary jump between there, and a lot of bold moves taken, that I think maybe I'm just assuming, but it almost seemed like that opened a lot of doors for Queensrÿche in a way, right?
Right. We're always trying to, look outside the box. We're always trying to, not repeat what we just did on the past record. And we're just about, taking the best elements of what we have and the creativity and just going with it.
Yeah. Do you think your experimental sound is why you've been able to tour with a variety of different bands as well? Because, I mean, you've toured with Judas Priest, you toured with Armored Saint, but you've also toured with a lot of progressive bands, and you've toured with a lot of bands that range from the utmost heaviness to really a serenading and melodic. Have you noticed many different types of audiences coming to Queensrÿche as well, especially with a lot of younger fans maybe discovering you guys with this new album or with Condition Human, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our music is such that, all types of genres can recognize it. And that's probably due to the melodic content that we put into it. And, all the songs, have melody in it. And that's kind of a universal thing. And I think that could be, one of the reasons why our tunes, work with, like you said, Metallica or Def Leppard. I don't know, so, but for us, it's great, that we were able to tour with such different bands and, during a great time in the hard rock history. So, but yeah, it's kind of a unique thing that we have that we can play with so many different types of band and people accept us.
100%. I've seen as somebody who goes to maybe a concert every single day at this point, being the journalist, I have seen Queensrÿche shirts at death metal shows, at black metal shows, and I've seen them at Warped Tour. You know what I mean? It just seems like there's no one spot that Queensrÿche only fits in, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, and it's we're not really a trendy band, so it's that's pretty cool that that people wear our shirts with our symbol, and I'm sure they get a lot of questions, and but whatever. That's very cool.
Yeah. Hey, never bad to ask a lot of questions if it's opening you up to new music, right?
Of course.
Yep. And I have two more questions for you. But when it comes to your writing, and going back to what you said about the old school method of writing, obviously, though, isolation is such a great fuel for creativity sometimes, and the loneliness. Do you find it maybe easier to come up with ideas instrumentally when you're alone in your own element and there's nothing between you and your instrument, or do you prefer to be in the company of your bandmates when cultivating ideas?
It doesn't matter. I mean, either or. I think, when you're stifled and isolated, back like we were during the pandemic, it breeds a lot of frustration. It breeds a lot of, I think, negative energy. So, I think you just got to stay true to what works for you, and just, not let these negative things influence your creativity.
Hey, but the negative things could maybe be a great source of fuel for creativity as well, right?
Oh yeah, especially lyrically, so but as far as writing songs guitar wise, it's no if, and, or but. I don't care.
Definitely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, somebody who has seen Queensrÿche live a bunch of times before, it's always a great experience, and it's always such a great essence of unity, and always just a fun time. Is there a similar energy that you put into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting? Is there anything that ties those two arts together, or do you consider them completely separate entities?
Well, for the most part, when you're recording an album, you want the album to be the most amazing thing that you can, and afterwards figure out if it works live. So, and that's what we do. It's like we have to figure out how the new songs fit with the legacy songs, and flow, energy, the whole bit. So there's a lot of thought involved when you're putting a set list together, and you only have so much time to fit, what you want to represent. So,
yeah.
And that's a constant thing, we battle with. It's because, festivals, we did the Blue Mountain Festival, and they told us we were playing 35 minutes.
For a lot of prog bands, that's one song.
Yeah. And on this Judas Priest tour that we're on right now, we have certain shows that are 45 minutes and certain shows that are 50, certain shows that are 55 minutes. So it's all different. So, trying to figure out the set list that works the best, that works for a Judas Priest crowd and works for us, it's a lot of thought kind of does go into that.
Yeah, and you're always going to have that one fan who just wants the deep cuts from the earliest of demos from back in the day. Somebody wants that one deep cut from the Warning from a track that was never released, and maybe kind of a split. I'm pretty sure people want to hear The Lady Wore Black or Prophecy or Take Hold of the Flame from back in the day, right?
Right, and it's always good, to do the look. There's 6 songs that we're probably always going to play when we're headlining.
Yeah,
There's a lot of wiggle room around there, and hardcore Rykers like some of the deep cuts that don't get played, and the new fans that are younger and just discovering Queensrÿche want to hear the new stuff. So it's a good balance on how it all works, and and sometimes it's just that's why the legacy songs work, because they're proven and then we've been playing them for decades, and so it can be a challenge, trying to fit in the new tunes, so it's something that I think all bands have to do.
yeah. And there's also placement. Like you could start the set off phenomenal with those legacy songs that will pull people in and start the thing off on a great note, but maybe you also want to end it on the highest possible note. So there's always it's always a mad scientist experiment with a set list.
Yeah, exactly. And it's but I think our shows are a good balance of songs that we picked, for the amount of time we have, and so far so good.
Definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's great to finally talk to you. I can't tell you how many times Queensrÿche has been requested for our channel, so it's great to finally make this happen. Is there just anything else with Digital Noise Alliance that you'd like to promote after this tour that you have with Judas Priest, if you're allowed to say, of course?
Yes. We're looking at a full Digital Noise Alliance headline tour in 2023, starting at the end of February. And that's going to go on for probably 6 or 7, 8, 9 weeks. We're still building it. And I think we're starting to book some shows for Europe. And we hope to get back to the UK and Europe again. So after the Judas Priest tour, we're probably going to take a little time off for the holidays, and then get ready for these next tours.
We're looking forward. Just please bring Queensrÿche back to New York. We would love to have you here.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, the last time I saw you was at the Irving Plaza show with Armored Saint, and now that they renovated that venue and it's like 10 times nicer, just wait till you see what it looks like now.
Wow. Yeah, that's always a good place.
Yeah, definitely. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Michael of Queensrÿche. Be sure to check out their brand new album, Digital Noise Alliance, out now, and we will see you next time on Heavy New York.